After all that craziness, Moonlight's the 2016 winner for Best Picture of the Year in the Academy Awards, and stands among a long list of winners from the past 90 years, but we're going back, way back to the very first one, Wings, the 1927 silent war spectacle that is likely known by the majority for being the one that got it first. But how well does it hold up? Why don't you give it a shot? Find out for yourself, and then you can join us here on the discussion on Debt to Cinema. I'm Stephen Maltmanex.
And I'm Brian Gillis. Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching latest releases. However, it can sadly put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we missed, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the other's opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
Let me humor myself just a little bit. We're recording this before the Oscars, so let's just pretend that against all odds, Hacksaw Ridge won, Mel Gibson got Best Director, and I can pretend that we're being super topical by picking a war movie right after
We're being
this.
topical anyway. It's the Academy Awards.
It's the Oscars.
It's almost 90 years now
I
since
just
it
want to
started.
feel extra topical. You know, we were somewhat there on being topical last year, which even though it had nothing to do with the win, you know, there was the whole Oscars so white thing, which pointed out, even though that was not directly the reason. I guess I'm doing the same thing. I'm kind of just picking randomly, but then again, this is an important one because it's the first statuette.
Sort of. Not really. Because they had 2 awards in 1927. One for Best Production, which this won, and then one for, like, Best Artistic Production, which Sunrise won. Sunrise is still heralded as, you know, like one of the best films ever made, which I sadly still haven't seen, but hey, at least I've seen this one.
That's what the show's for. So how does that, I guess that's where it's up for debate? I don't know.
Yeah, their Best Picture didn't exist yet. They had 2 awards, and it kind of split. It was like literally the Best Production and the Best Artistic Representation. And then the year after this, in 28, that's why Wings is the weird one, and it won technically 2 years. It won in 27, the year that it was produced, and then it won in 28, which is the first real Academy Award ceremony. Because that original one was only 5 minutes long at the Roosevelt Hotel, and it was on the radio. So can you imagine a 5-minute Oscars? That's even shorter than the writer's strike
they all got
here.
letters too, or they sent letters to Paramount going, "Congratulations, you got this." Well, it was called a statuette at the time, if I'm not mistaken, not an Oscar.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, yeah, I don't think the Oscar became a thing until the 30s.
It was the Academy Awards, but
yeah,
it wasn't the Oscars at that point.
But this is only like 8 years after the Great War, if that.
10 years.
Well, when it was released, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
But that's a quick turnaround. It was very obvious that they weren't using planes and like tanks and probably even like actual towns. I don't know, like how they got away, or not even how they got away, but how they accomplished some of the stunts here.
It's all real.
It's scary.
Like, they got the POV shots of the pilots. That's not
that's
rear
a plane
projection.
That's a plane
doing a tailspin.
No,
down
that's
there.
not a stuntman.
Like,
that's the actors.
Yeah, no, like stunt/actors. Like,
yeah.
You know, even the 2 main leads, they had to learn to fly planes in this. Like, it's all real.
And it's because the director was a pilot. So, yeah, he's a French
He was a World War I vet, so he's got the experience there.
He had something like 3 confirmed kills and 5 additional ones that might have been real. There's something he walked like every day for the rest of his life after the war because he got in a crash, and so he had like a walking souvenir. This guy sounds awesome.
I've heard some things about how this is like he was not the ideal choice of the studio at the time because this is a big movie. Like I don't even know if it's the biggest movie ever made at the time. I know it was big, but like
seems like the biggest Paramount movie even by today's standards.
Like this is like the Titanic of its day.
This is bigger than
Really.
Titanic, to be honest. This thing
Like
is pretty
down to the
impressive.
romance, yeah, but like this thing, it was like, it was big, it was epic, and no one was making something like this at the time. Like, I don't even know why, aside from it being independent, Hell's Angels is such a big fucking deal after I've seen this. Like,
Forgive us
I really
for
don't.
our brain fart. The director's name is William A. Wellman. Yeah, this is kind of a crazy movie. Like I don't. It's apparently shot mostly in Texas, which kind of makes
Yeah,
sense because
for Texas film history, that I was gonna say that's a big thing. But
Y-
they
y-
shot it at San Antonio, and they had a lot of military connections to make this movie, just to make it possible. And at the time, it was a big military town. Even my grandfather was stationed there
Oh,
at
wow.
one point during the Korean War.
there's like this story that I read on IMDb, which seems too good not to be true, where I guess Wellman delayed production by like a couple of weeks because he was waiting for clouds in Texas. Because
Howard Hughes did the same thing for Hell's Angels.
it
Like,
makes sense.
I've not seen Hell's Angels, but like I've seen The Aviator. They covered
Yeah.
essential parts of that production. That was a big thing. So again, I'm just kind of like, I'm reading this. I'm like, what the fuck is the big deal about Howard Hughes then? Fucking Wellman got to it first, and he
Well, I
made
mean,
a fucking
the difference is Howard Hughes
is Howard Hughes.
Yeah, he's an American pioneering
He put his
monopolistic man
own money into
doing-
that movie. But
Yeah,
why
not
is
even
that
just the
a big
movie,
deal?
but he created the Spruce Goose. That's his own invention, and he flew a plane that was bigger.
I know why
than
he's a
anything
big
on the-
deal. I'm
It's
just
like,
saying, why is the production of Hell's Angels such a big deal?
probably because it's independent. I mean, this is even though
He did the same
Paramount
thing, yeah.
wasn't a huge studio yet. It's funny. How'd you watch this one?
This one, I rented it.
Yeah, I rented it on YouTube. So I got this kick-ass like 100-year Paramount
Yeah,
opening.
okay, so you did get the
I got
the
that
one with
really
the original
cool
score.
not
And they-
title sequence but studio logo where it showed every single Paramount
Yeah.
one in reverse order, which was pretty cool.
Well, that's the thing. Is like this is a silent film, but it's also a misnomer because there are a lot of silent movies that have original scores behind them, and this is one of them. And so
Well, this is the year
this-
of.
Yeah, but like
basically.
this is an epic, So when you have like the stuff with the Paramount logo, I thought that was cool too. But that's the overture.
Yeah.
Like there is an intermission here, and it
I
may
didn't
not
get an
be
intermission.
I got an intermission in the middle. It's right after the airfield ceremony. Maybe YouTube cut it out because people don't like that. But yeah, like there's a black screen for a while, and then you got all the Paramount logos that go back in time, and that's the overture before the full title comes up. And so yeah, like I actually did some research because some people were questioning whether the sound was excessive that Ben Burt was responsible
No.
for putting in there. And they-
1927 is when sound film was created. Jazz
Yeah,
Singer
but
came out this
also,
year.
Even back then, though, like there was always sound in movies to some extent. People would
not
make
really.
live sounds during movies. Like it's sort of all over the place. Like they don't know for this one. They don't know exactly how much. They had to make choices on where, based on musical cue sheets, there would be actual sounds. But yeah, even in small theaters, there would be composers playing the piano, kind of doing their own thing,
That's
or
the difference,
they'd be
though.
trying to create sound. So there's always some sort of like movies were never like 100% silent where
Yeah, they were.
there was no music.
No,
or anything.
yeah, they might have had like a
They always
piano
tried to give
player
it something in the background.
theater, or the Nickelodeon might have had, like a musical reel that was playing alongside it.
Yeah.
But until 27, the year of this film's production, they didn't have the technology to put film on the same to put sound on the film stock. That's not something that happened until this year. And they're not called talkies at this time. They were sound films. Like Jazz Singer is not a talkie. It's just singing.
The DVD has several. It had several soundtracks. Like this is the first one because it's the original score. But then there's some other basic silent scores that, they had on laser discs from the '90s. So, I mean, unless it's from a Criterion disc, I've never checked out a DVD or a Blu-ray for a silent film that didn't have multiple music tracks for whatever reason. So it's really a tough call to make. But what I do know is that there was an original score composed for this movie, and that's
There you go.
what is on the first disc, and that's really that's the first one that people should watch because the score for this is really, really good.
Here you go. Warner Brothers Don Juan was the first film with a score on track. So it's about a year before this film. And then at this point, yeah, anything huge was clearly going to have it. It goes a pretty long way, even though the sound effects are pretty minor. I mean, you get like the car starting up in the beginning, and then the air
Obviously, the
fighters and
planes.
like fire, gunfire. But that's basically it. You don't get You would think with a restoration of this size, especially like using Skywalker sound to mix it and maybe even do Foleying, that they would go a lot further. But
Well, it was Ben Burtt, and I mean, he respects this movie, and the way he put it is that he treated it more like archaeology. You know, it's not to re-envision it.
yeah,
It's
just dusting
like
it
I
off.
said, they had the musical sheets for it. They tried to figure out where the right places were to put sound because it's not like they're constantly just trying to add sound for everything. You know, they hold back and they put it where they feel it would have been at the time, and it's a difficult call to make.
But then you get like the weird special effects that I would assume are added post, like the gunfire having the red and yellow tint
The muzzle
to it.
flashes?
Yeah, the muzzle flashes.
That is drawn in. That
Was
looked
it?
like it was. Yeah, it looked to me like it was painted in. And I was thinking like, yeah, that's. It's funny seeing an old muzzle flash from the 20s because that's a funny thing about guns that people always forget is that muzzle flashes are not real. That's a movie thing. Like
Yeah.
guns don't do that. It's just so we can see where the bullets are coming from or what they hit.
Well, they're shooting incendiary rounds, so maybe there was muzzle flashes.
But yeah, they are drawn in. Even you see some smoke coming from the planes, but the fire is clearly drawn in.
And the bubbles. Even if that wasn't drawn, but
But that's an effect.
I'm not
That's an
exactly
overlay.
It's one of those like George Méliès things where it's like I don't know what the fuck is going on right now, but hey, it looks good, guys. It looks good. Let's jump to
I would
that.
love to
That's
go back to the 20s and just be like, hey, do you guys get drunk often? Is this really? Is this what it's like for you?
They weren't drinking yet, or when this film was out, no one was drinking. Well, at least in America.
I'm talking about the movie itself.
Well, they definitely
Oh,
weren't.
right, Prohibition.
Yeah, Prohibition's going on. But yeah, that's I think that's a sequence of this film that everyone talks about. If you go on YouTube, it's the one that you can find. That push-in that happens when everyone is at the Folie de whatever it is. I can't remember the name of it. When you're there and you get that series of like 6 couples at tables and the camera pushes in, it tracks through the tables and gets to Jack partying, getting drunk on champagne. That's like the one shot in this film that everyone knows. It's the one that makes the montages and the best of film history shots. And
Really?
And basically, like I've seen that a couple of times.
I've never seen a frame of this movie. Like, as far as I know, Wings is just the one that's known as that's the first Oscar movie.
I don't know exactly what I've seen it in, but I've definitely seen it either in YouTube compilations or like something like One Perfect Shot's done, or maybe even documentaries. Perhaps
it's a
film
good
school.
shot. I mean, this is something I didn't expect. Like my silent film exposure has been very limited. So to me, it's a lot of stuff like. If it's not a comedy, then I picture it as like, oh, it's a lot of very static shots that don't move, and then action happening on screen that's takes a while to get to the point. This was really different. Like, I mean, the shots here, there's some really dynamic and cool stuff. Like the one on the swing set where it's like they have a camera just kind of stationed with it.
Like the
it's
first
not
interesting shot in the film.
Yeah, like I mean, like that is a really cool shot. Like just because I don't think I've seen stuff like I've probably seen it before.
No, I've never
seen
like that.
something like that of that era. And I mean, also just not just the shot choices, but like the way that this is edited, this flows really well.
Yeah, there's only like a couple of problems, and I think it's because this is a restored print. They added like 20 minutes. It was in a vault. They didn't have the source material, so you have like some obvious jump cuts that happen in bigger moments. But just in terms of like the film language, even though it's a little archaic, it works really well.
No, it flows. Like it is really, really well paced.
When you get like
I
a
was
medium
never really
shot
bored.
and it transitions into a close up, you're like, okay, they would have done that with a zoom lens or something today. But even so, yeah, it's not
There's
an
some
issue.
things that you can accept though. Like I think just knowing how silent films move, it's like there's some things where you're kind of prepared for it. But like I was surprised. Like that, the only thing that kind of sort of bored me were the battle sequences. To be honest.
No, they
like
were good.
I was
They're
really
just
impressed.
the same thing over and over again.
Well, yeah, and it's like I'm really impressed by the photography in a lot of these stunts. But then like it's not as exciting for something that's silent, even though the score does a really good job with it. But to get a sense of the geography up in the air, it's pretty difficult, especially in black and white when everyone sort of appears the same, and then. You have that text narration going, an American plane number 2 takes out German number 2, and they're going in for the like. It feels like
intertitle.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like watching Sports Center highlights except the silent version. It's really weird, and I was not a fan of it, but then I guess I understand the limitations too of this is a silent film. You know, there's not a lot that they can do about that, but it's not terribly exciting to see an image of a plane shooting at another plane and then being told through text exactly what's happening.
I was a fan of the intertitles here, especially at the beginning of the film when they leave, small town America and they go on the road, and you get that one where it, like, literally a brand that says war on it is put up into the screen, and it does like
That was
something
cool,
similar with that when it says Paris. But for
Gone with the Wind did the same thing. Like, I mean, and that's a movie where, you know, because it's a sound movie, I'm just like, why do you have all these intertitles in there? Honestly,
it's
like,
to progress the story, so
yeah,
you
but
can just get somewhere.
It's old fashioned.
It's
Like,
very
I can
old-fashioned.
accept Gone with the Wind is like a really
But
cool spectacle
even
in that sense. But
even
here,
films
yeah.
from this year did it. Look at La La Land splitting up the seasons, or
Okay, but that's an ode to old musicals.
not
is
well,
that
like
really...
sort of, but not really. It's still a contemporary film using contemporary filmmaking technology.
But going back to paying tribute to classic films, like, I don't think that's something that we see narratively utilized into modern filmmaking or modern styles.
If I thought hard enough, I could probably come up with another one. But generally speaking, nowadays, yeah, it's like 2 years later.
Yeah,
or something along those lines.
But that's like a generic one that I think we're all used to, or that are just, you know, locations where we are. But that's kind of all we get. You know, with the exception of Star Wars having the crawl at the beginning, we don't really have exposition delivered through text that way.
It's like all media is text, whether it's literally something written that you're interpreting, or it's a film, or it's an image or a photograph, whatever, you know. It's all a text that you read a certain way. And I think what's beautiful about intertitles is that before film was truly its own thing, because the verisimilitude of life, of creating that version, you need color and you need sound and you need talking and, you know, these other things that they develop further down the road. But at this point in history, given that it's still monochromatic and they're overacting and you can see them saying stuff, but you don't know exactly what they're saying, and so you get like the hand of God writing it down for you. There's like this dream-like world that articulates, and this one, with just the way that the characters kind of act in this scary moment in time, in addition to the clever usage of the camera and all kinds of different things, it's not over the top, but it's larger than life, which is kind of perfect at this time, especially because
Also in some points over the top, at least
Yeah.
by modern standards. But no, like, absolutely, I'm with you on that.
It's beautiful though, because you got to understand, like, this was in theaters for 63 weeks. That's ridiculous. That, you know, people, and that's part of like Charles Lindbergh, like doing the cross-Atlantic flight and stuff like that. But beyond just seeing the dogfight footage, it's just, you know, the war just ended. We're about to get into another one not too long after this film came out. And it's like, it was almost, what's the word? It was championed, you know, like the boys
This is
coming
also
home. Like,
right before the crash of 29. So,
Yeah.
you know, we were, this is the roaring 20s at
even-
that point. We are in such a high. of
even if
everything.
this came out during the stock market crash, it would have been equally as big of a hit, just because of
yeah.
its sense of escapism, how epic it is. You get these
But
two
the
kids.
mentality that you get of just the country at the time and how great everything is.
Yeah, it probably, like I said, if this came out 2 years after it actually did, it would be the same exact movie. It would just, there'd be people talking, which would have probably not worked, because how would you record
I think
sound
that's
when
what
they're
Hell's
in a
Angels
plane?
ended up being, which you know, it's. I'm sorry, I don't want to default back to this, but it's like, I'm just remembering now. Like, there's a moment in Hell's Angels where Howard Hughes tells whoever John C. Reilly plays, "Hey, we got to reshoot this movie for sound." And I'm just thinking, wait, so they shot Hell's Angels silent at first, like? So they were making the same exact goddamn thing? Like,
I wouldn't know.
I don't know, just throwing it out there. But yeah, keep talking.
I want to go back to, you know, we're talking about that swing set shot.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about that shot, you know, you get this tenor moment between David and Sylvia, whatever, they're doing their thing. And in the background, you see Jack, what's his name, Buddy Rogers, driving up, who, for the rest of the recording, I'm just going to call him John Cusack, because that's who I fucking saw.
Really?
Yeah, like, when I saw him, he looked like...
He does not look like
No,
him.
like, say anything John Cusack. I don't know, there's just something about his face where he looks like he's always 20 years old. I don't know.
Well, except John Cusack is kind of less, he's not as douchey and just taking things like, hey, I wonder if I could have you. Oh, you got a picture for me. Oh, that's nice. He doesn't run off and do shit like that.
A little bit.
I laughed at that.
I don't mean
like,
his character, just his face. There's something about his face that
I
it
don't
got
see
me.
it.
Anyway, that's
I'm
not the
sorry, I
point.
don't see it.
So you got him on the swing. They're having their tender moment, and yeah, the star of the film drives up on his souped up shooting star, his car, and you see him in the background drive up, approach, run towards the swing, and then stop the swing. So it's swaying back and forth as this weird, doggy cam, basically, is what I would call it. And then it's broken, and you don't get like a sense of unease or anything. And then he literally grabs this girl, just takes her, and puts her in his car. Drives off with her. Like it's like you said, he just takes everything. He takes the locket, he takes the Hershey bar, he takes everything. Like
well, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I can chalk it up to the time. Women were more objectified, to put it.
Not really, though, because Clara Bow gets top billing in this movie. She gets a lot of screen time. Like,
she was the only one that was a star at the time.
She's the original female star. Like, Mary Pickford was pretty big too because of the D.W. Griffith stuff.
No, like she got more time. Like the the guys that played Jack and
David.
And David, yeah, they were unknowns at the time. So I mean, this was kind of a risk for Paramount, like just as far as filmmaking, because they're like, okay, we got this director that is not a big name, but we're giving him a big movie just because he's proven that he's had the experience because of the war. He got the job, and then he wants to cast these unknowns. Like, it's a pretty big financial risk, at least at the time. And so, at least they have one name involved. That's I don't know what the hell else Clara Bow was in. I know she was big at the time.
Like, the term "it girl." Mm-hmm. That's because of her.
That was her.
She was in a film in 1927 called "It," and it's just her. And she was the premier, just roaring 20s flapper. Like, it's her. She created the look, the black hair, the drawn-on eyebrows, the dark lipstick, the short skirts, like the sequins. Like, when she has that moment when they're at the club in Paris and she dresses up to get Jack's attention, like, that's pretty similar to what she would actually wear. Like, there's stories, I guess, about her being upset about her military outfit here, the officer's uniform, because she wanted to tie her belt to accentuate her curves and stuff. But yeah, she was everywhere this time in film history. Like, she is the original pinup girl. Like, it was her. There's no one else like her in film history. Like, just the way that the film objectifies women, like the male gaze, it was basically solidified with her starring roles. I wish I've seen. I need to see more of her material. I know
what the show is for.
It's like a year after this one. I think it was 28, 29. She made her first talkie. I'm curious what her voice sounds like. So maybe we'll do one of her talkies in the future. But yeah, like probably one of the most fascinating things I learned in that women in film history class that I took in college. Yeah. Best class I took in college.
This was Wysocki, right?
No, he took it as his own after Hoffman left. You never had Hoffman. She was awesome.
No, I never even took that class.
A big chunk of that class, like a whole week's reading, was all about Clara Bow and how she tried to kind of combat. Sexism wasn't exactly a word at that time, but she was more than just the pinup girl, more than just the it girl. Like, men wanted to be with her, girls wanted to be her, and she had the star power. Like, she got top billing at a time that women didn't and still kind of don't. As much as her acting is over the top with her crazy, like, eyes moving around and how she's crying over
like
nothing.
Throwing her hands up. What are you doing in that car? Oh, no, let me get the steering wheel. Oh, no. Like, can't women let a man work in peace?
Like, that whole sequence at the Paris club when she's... Like, she's too
amazing.
Stupid to know that he's crazy drunk, like, seeing bubbles everywhere.
Go away, little bubbles, with no bubbles in uniform.
She wins because she has bubbles in her eyes.
You got bubbles in your eye. I like you. Yeah. Like, that whole scene is amazing.
It's pretty damn good. It's like, as soon as they get to Paris and until it's over, like, you get this weird little interlude in the film where there is no danger and all of the characters are together and they're partying and they just got
nice
decorated.
Little break from all the action.
It's really important because otherwise this film would be really droll. Like,
well, I mean, this is not. We didn't have anti-war films yet. This is not All Quiet on the Western Front. Oh, war is is awful. Like, there's moments where bad things happen, yeah, but like this is a very patriotic film. I mean, like,
Yeah, you even get
even in the
the
first
journal,
battle,
dude.
there's moments where it's like, oh, we were fighting the Germans, but they were chivalrous fighters. Hey, you know what? I'm not gonna shoot you down. Let me fly alongside you and salute you.
Yeah, well, you even get that
Stuff like
moment
that.
where
It
the
wasn't
like
unheard of, though. I mean, well, I'm basing this off Flyboy's knowledge, but Flyboys does the same thing, although they treat it more as like a moment of respect, where it's like,
fuck,
you know what? Okay, you pulled through, but I'm just going to give you this one warning. There is, I
why
can
don't
see
you
that kind
use
of
a Debt
respect
to
happening.
Cinema pick as proof? Furthermore,
Like what?
I don't know. What was your Christmas pick again?
Joyeux Noel? You're
There
trying
you
to.
go.
Okay, yeah, but I mean that's different.
It's the
it's just.
same.
But
It's like
I'm just talking about the way that this is in execution here.
it's funny
Like
too
it,
because
it, it seems more silly. It's just like, hey, let me smile and wave at you. Hey, good job.
beyond
Okay,
that,
let's
though,
get back to fighting. It's that kind of corny, kind of stuff here where I like, this isn't that dissimilar to Flyboys. Like, honestly, I might
the
get a lot of
German
flack for that,
platoon
but
leader
just that,
though,
yeah.
he like drops that note in a parachute to the Allies, telling them that, oh yeah, your planes went down. It's over here. Don't worry. Like that would never
I
happen.
don't think it was so much a don't worry. It's more like in this, it's like that's the antagonist, like that's the bad guy, and he's just kind of there's like sort of a sinister undertone of like, hey, I got your guy, and he's gonna,
See, I didn't even. I didn't even with the
that's how I read that.
parachute.
I didn't read that as a nice thing because you have this one guy by name that you're painting as the bad guy, and sorry to go back to it, but Flyboys has the same thing where there's this one German fighter that they look at as like that's the guy that you got to watch out for. That's the guy that you got to go after. And there's this whole thing being built up like against what is essentially the main German flyer antagonist, and it's gonna be this big epic air battle, and then. You kind of get that here. You definitely get that in Flyboys where it's overblown. But yeah, that's because I saw that. That's kind of how I saw this.
I think you just watched the wrong movie. I mean, I haven't seen many squadron movies. Like,
Yeah, like
it's
especially for World War One. Like this
no,
is
just period. I maybe seen 5. I mean, especially if you count Star Wars. Like, no, I just haven't. It's
Pearl Harbor.
it's a subgenre that I haven't seen much of. I'm
Pearl
not
Harbor.
sure. Just haven't done it. But you get it's probably, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of it, but that Hotka bombing run when you get the super plane, the warship, that is like one of the most impressive wartime like sequences I've ever seen. Just the way that's set up, it kind of reminded me of Mad Max Fury Road, to be honest. When
Just
they're
the explosions too. Like
not even the like the explosions too, but like just how you get that inner title where they're like, and they got this ship, and they're getting it ready for war, and they have the
Yeah.
2 smaller ships on the side, and them stockpiling it with these missiles, or not, they're not missiles yet, but these
They're
bombs,
bombers, yeah.
and just how you get like 3 other people on the plane besides the pilot. Like seriously, like in Fury Road when they're leaving to go get the war rig, and they're all jumping up in their cars, like it had to be maybe not inspired by this film directly, but that kind of sequencing, like the way that you just know you're like I can imagine being in the theater at the inception, like for this original run, and being like, oh my god, have you seen this before? You're gonna love this. Like, get your popcorn ready. Like, they're just freaking out over
Well,
that moment.
I mean, you're also just talking about how influential this movie was just on
That
action. I mean, like, there's no rear screen projection on the close-ups. Like I said, like I don't think this stuff was really figured out yet, these tricks yet. But like, this is all practical, and like it's, as far as I know, this is more or less the first spectacle, at the very least the first war spectacle. I don't know when DeMille's first Ben-Hur silent version came out, and all
before
that.
He did
Or
fucking,
Ten Commandments. I
no,
don't know how
before
early
that too.
those are
He
compared
did
to this.
Intolerance, which I think was
That's C.W. Griffith. Yeah,
oh, shit.
and that's
well, even still,
one of the,
that's a spectacle too.
and then of course there's the Birth of a
Birth
Nation.
of a Nation, yeah.
But there, it's kind of like that's the kind of silent cinema I'm talking about, where these are static shots where people are kind of moving and motion is pretty fast. I could be horribly wrong because I've definitely seen parts of Intolerance. I just don't remember it that well.
Yeah, I've seen clips in certain things, and
but that's just
that's
how
like
my
one
memory
of
is of it. So I might be undermining the look of that movie.
No, I know for sure, especially in just D.W. Griffith's productions, like he had lots of people on screen at once, but it wasn't choreographed in a special way. Whereas this one, they're on the front, and you got the people at the turrets, you have people in the tanks, you have people in the planes, just people running around. Like, how many extras you have at a given moment all doing something. And yeah, maybe they don't die
There's a lot of
gracefully,
guys on
like,
the military base in San Antonio too that were helping them out. So yeah, they had a lot of people.
it really shows in that moment, even though it's like, by today's standards, it's not very impressive, just because, like I said, like the blood doesn't look real. Like when they all die the same way. Like it's like, oh, they got shot, they hold their shoulder and then they go limp.
I think they sell it fairly well.
Fairly well, yeah.
At least for a movie that's developing cinematic language, just as far as a spectacle level, like. Yeah, like
it's good enough.
This is pretty damn influential, and it's convincing for the most part. Like it's just I'm sort of laughing at some stuff because like the acting has to be over the top because it just has to be based on limitations. But then also some text on screens, like I'm half laughing at the drama, but also half taking the melodrama seriously because they actually play it really well. Like there are these standard tropes that we're familiar with now, but I mean, yeah, like I said, this is the Titanic of this day. Like I can totally see why this won a statuette because like this is
except it's not a male female relationship that's at play here.
This has to be though like a
first gay romance.
Okay, I really don't get that. Like no, I read that it's like. Wow, it's the first man-on-man kiss on screen, and then I see it's like, yeah,
it doesn't really
really
count.
good friends.
Yeah.
Like I've seen so
It's
many
like,
war movies at this point. That I'm just like, yeah, that's what it is, and it's one of those things that really makes the friendship convincing. Even though
not
there's all
even
these
just
other
a
cliches,
friendship.
it's
kind of
you feel that depth.
It's seriously
when that
past
happens.
a friendship, though. When you think about it, they start off, they hate one another because they're after the same girl.
You're in the same
he steals his
war,
locket,
though,
but then they end up, like in the same platoon, like in the same camp. And then they're partners, they become best friends. Like you get that boxing sequence, which is awesome.
Okay. Well, that was one where I was just like, that's kind of an early thing. Like it's funny, but they were fighting so fast, and I just could not tell who was who.
You know why? I'm pretty sure this is a sound cinema thing. I mean, a silent cinema thing. It wasn't at 24 frames per second yet. That was developed for talkies because lip sync didn't match the recorded dialogue. This is probably 18 frames, maybe even 17.
22. I think.
Is it 22?
Yeah.
No, I think it's less than that. Just in terms of the punching with the boxing.
That scene at a lower frame rate, yeah, but in general, because there's scenes that move at a much more naturalistic frame rate than that. Like that was sped up.
Yeah, well, and I think that was just that the frames were low enough that you couldn't see the fury of punches. Like that's why it looks like it's sped up. I think it's more so that the film was running at such a low speed that I don't know. Like maybe there's research on this. I doubt the film is 22. Like maybe the aerial footage is close to that.
No. I think that just the staging on like the actual footage when they're interacting, like just the way that they moved, it was way too close. Like especially for how emotional a lot of these scenes are, especially closer to the end. Like it doesn't feel like it moves too fast. This is 1927, so they are able to better understand how to play with frame rate at that point. But yeah, no, there was no way that. I can't. If it was, then I mean they did a damn good job of just staging everything and playing everything up. If the whole thing was 18, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they just didn't know any better.
I know that the artist shot at 22 frames a second for that reason. That
like they didn't know. I'm sure there's varied productions that are shooting at different frame rates, but even by today's standards, like 24 is too low. We shouldn't be at that number still. That's why you have these examples where you have like the Hobbit films or Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. It's like, yeah, I'm sure Avatar 2. It's like, well, we got 24. How about we do 30? Fuck 30. Well, how about we do 60? And then we're gonna hit like 100 soon.
We've gotten higher frame rates over time. We just found that for film, for cinema, it works a certain way for a certain reason, and why for sports or the news it works
or
at 30
video games.
or 60 for a reason.
It's like if you're playing VR, you're doing 90 or 120. You need
like there's different frame rates for different things. Though,
the soap opera feel is necessary for virtual reality because otherwise you're gonna.
It has to feel real.
It has to feel very real. Yeah.
Like this, and with this, it's like it feels like more dreamlike and larger than life. Like your dreams definitely do not look like they're moving at 60 frames a second.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe for James Cameron.
Not for me, but well.
Maybe for Michael Bay.
It's different for everybody. We have so many options right now for just the moving image, and it's great. But let's get back to the characters here because as thin as they are, there's actually a lot of stuff
They're
I
not
like.
that thin. I mean, Buddy.
Well,
Buddy Rogers' character, Jack. Like he's the most. No, I take that back. Claire Bow's character is the most fleshed out. Mary is pretty rounded.
Well, they're pretty thin in that they're very two-dimensional. Like even for Mary, what can you say about her other than
that's a
she
silent
loves
film
Jack
thing,
and
though.
she has very that's a limitation. It was part of my criticism of the artist, really. But this is more of just my understanding of this one. In that when people praised that movie, I was like, well. It's storytelling wise it's not that great. It can't explore its themes too deeply because of the limitations of it, but here that's just as film history, that's part of what's cool about it here, really. And they know how to play with the right melodramatic notes, how to integrate those and just show enough to really for us to be able to project enough emotion onto the screen and really get enough out of it. There's a lot of details though, small things that I there's the cliche thing with you probably have not seen that many warfighter movies, but I'm sure you've seen enough to know that it's a cliche for war of let me get a photo of my girl, and there's that. But I love that Dave, instead he embraces nostalgia and just takes a freaking small little stuffed bear, I love that's there.
The bear's better than the locket, to be honest.
Seriously, no, I really love how you could put so much into that scene of how difficult it is for the mother, and she says bring it back, because that literally it helps that scene so much where it's she's seeing her boy that grew up go away, but then that is just a painful reminder of how fast he grew up and how he's just leaving after
she has a line of actually it is dialogue because it's an intertitle with quotation marks, and she says or is interpreted that she says the reason bring it back is because it was just the other day that you were playing with that. She actually articulates that. It's just you get that very rarely in this film. People
like that, yeah.
People almost never get dialogue in an intertitle. I think the rare exception is the director's cameo where he looks up the sky. He's like, "Oh, them buzzards are really something," or when
for
they're
a silent film, they don't get dialogue.
No, I'm saying in this one, it's pretty rare for anyone to get quote unquote dialogue. It's an intertitle to progress the story, but when you do, it's kind of notable. For instance, the shooting star gag, where it's well, what you can do when you shoot a shooting star. Yeah, you can kiss the girl you love.
But I like how that's set up too. There's a lot of little things like that really pay off nicely.
My favorite little thing, even though it happened one too many times, is the German soldier with the American flag tattoo.
Herman, I fucking love Herman, man.
That was awesome.
That dude is awesome.
The first time you get it,
how patriotic he is.
Yeah.
I love the caption or the intertitle that comes in about halfway through where they're Herman, he wanted to be a fighter, but they wouldn't
he
take
became
him,
a mechanic.
So he enlisted as a mechanic.
Yeah.
And he's just he's just so happy, to be an American and helping out in the war
There's no
effort.
payoff for it, but when David and Jack have their fight and they go up in the air, you see him grab the bear. He tries to run after David and give it to him, and you don't get a shot of him dejected, damn it, that was needed, in my opinion. Something like that.
No, because it's one of those there is no subtlety in how that's set up. Even the audience knows, oh no, he could die. They treat it like it's a real thing of he won't get his lucky bear. He what if he doesn't come back?
It's a real thing. I really do believe in not expectations
and all that.
No, not good luck charms, but more so a whatchamacallit, in life, you need a certain set, not just of expectations, but of of your environment. For instance, when you're at work, you want the napkins to be here, and here's the straws. You want to know where everything is before you even step in the door. That way, you can hit the ground running. That's why the cubicle system works. It is your own spot in the office. This is where it is. In your bedroom, anywhere in life, in your car. If you don't know where X thing is, it's gonna fuck with you. And
so
I think
basically, you're saying comfort.
It's comfort, but it's
past
that.
If you don't have your lucky little thing, your lucky bracelet
not
or something,
even,
when
not
you
even
take
lucky.
a test, then you're getting anxious that you're gonna fuck up on the test, something like that.
Think about it this way: the only thing that divided all of the different guys' planes, besides this one's a shooting star because it has a star painted on
It's painted on the side.
But in the cabin, in the actual cockpit, there was nothing there that was any different than your buddy's plane. However, if you had your Lucky Charm, it all of a
Yeah.
sudden was your plane now. In the same
No,
way that
yeah, like that's absolutely a war movie cliche. Like
I think it's a
all
life
fighter
cliche
pilot
though.
movies have that. Yeah,
It's like
well,
look at like drivers that have like
that totally makes
special
sense
set of
too.
gloves,
Like,
or like baseball players that have to wear the special socks. Like
well, it's a cliche now, I think, because we've seen it so much. But I think that might be a William Wellman touch in that, like little things like that, they kind of feel real here in that, because you're talking, it's someone that experienced it in the war. Whereas now, if it's just a screenwriter that's writing it in there because he's done research and he sees that's there. But I don't know, the choice and the way that it's presented here, it really does feel like it has that personal touch there because. I mean, just as an early example, like the photo of your girl, like, yeah, that's one I've seen so many times. But it's like, why would someone have a stuffed bear with them? But you could, like, there's enough presented here in that you can impose a lot of reasons why here, and it really does feel like there's a lot there to it.
I just think there's some really great shots in this film, like outside
Absolutely.
of these, because it's hard in the same way when we did My Bloody Valentine the other week, and we're like, well, we can't really compare this to slashers that we've seen because it's so dated and it created a lot of the tropes that we're so accustomed to. And the same goes here, but not just for the genre, but in terms of filmmaking, period, because this was such an acclaimed film and a big hit that everyone fucking saw it, every studio saw it, and they started stealing things. And, it just becomes part of the public domain, which for some reason this film actually isn't, and it kind of should be.
It's Paramount's, like, it's a movie that they're very proud of, so
Sorta, except it's
I doubt
not.
that they will let that go. They will hang on to that, even though they let Warner Brothers take away the distribution rights for home video. So
It's
I don't know.
it's like the things
Shortly after doing the restoration.
The things here that you don't see, though, that I think are like a great touch by the director, are like the pilot centrifuges when they're at boot camp and they're in those like basically boxcar racers that are flipping upside down and doing all that kind of shit. I'd never seen that before, ever. Like, not like, yeah, maybe you're like watching the right stuff and they're in the ship that's like spinning in a circle or something like
No,
that.
I mean, like, that training stuff is really cool. Even Flyboys didn't have that.
No,
they had
yeah,
some cool stuff.
I've
but yeah.
never seen that before. Like, that was clearly the top of the line flight simulator at the time that
was
the military
there.
had.
This is not that far removed from when they put planes up in the air. So
Yeah. So it's like
absolutely.
they didn't have a lot of planes that you could pilot in yet. Like, they had no spare cockpit. So like, learn all the switch. Well, I mean, there's like no switches at this time in history, but you didn't have like a simulator. Instead, it's sit in this thing and someone will have bicycle pedals and it'll be able to flip upside down. That way, if you lose your cookies, we'll know, and you're not going to get your pilots. You're not going to get your wings, okay? That's not going to happen. But even the better thing, because it's rare in this time in history, and also just in Hollywood cinema, period, when it's this obvious, until like the modern era, product placement. That Hershey bar, right away, before I even did a note on it, I knew it was special. I was looking at the candy bar. I wasn't looking at the guy who was holding it. That was Gary Cooper.
Yeah, I got a real kick out of that. Just that scene for so many reasons.
He looked really familiar. I didn't know why, because mind you, I've only seen High Noon and I guess now this. But there was just something about him. I was like, why does he look...
Early Gary Cooper, who's there for one scene.
A big scene, though.
It's so funny how it's set up too, where he's just like, "Hey, I'm glad to be rooming with you fellas. Like, we got this tent. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. Well, I got to do my own figure eights. Oh, you got a Lucky Charm? Well, there's no sense in that. If you get it at the wrong time, then that's it."
I think the way the shot was set up,
there.
that his Lucky Charm might have been his chocolate bar. Like, maybe he always takes a Hershey bar with
Maybe,
him into the
yeah.
sky.
You left
you
it
get
behind because they did fixate on that after a while.
well, because it's product placement. It's like,
no, I mean, you can say narratively it fits for that reason. But
sorta.
even the way that they did that shot, it was
like
that effect was pretty
Hershey's
cool. That plane
chocolate
crashing.
became a hit because GIs got it in the field, literally. And so this was them going, okay, you're out of the military now. You're back home. You're with your wife. You're at the movies, seeing this Wings movie, where you're going, oh, man, this is the closest thing to war. You'll understand it, babe. You're going to love it. Hershey, go to lobby. Where's the lobby girl? Get me a Hershey bar. It's only a penny. I want one.
Let's give war vets some flashbacks of war through a Hershey bar. That is a wonderful thing to do, isn't
pretty
it?
good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I'm sure they got awful memories of war, but let's take them back.
It's like hot cocoa probably still works out. So it's the end of the episode, so I guess we can talk about it now. We kind of skipped over it. The way this film ends, you get the man on man kiss, which come on isn't. But that moment where David dies is really tender.
I just because I don't want to undermine silent cinema, but like just some that kind of impressed me. Just as far as like I love the visual metaphor of that propeller
Oh yeah, as the
for the
cross.
heartbeat. Like just little there's so many touches like that throughout. But like
Oh, I
I
thought
mean
you meant
that's
the
the one where it's
actual
just
the
like
tombstone as a propellers.
yeah, but then it's just that's the one where it's just like bam, like it really hits there. As kind of corny as the setup is for that, in every single way, just the circumstances. It's like they're great dramatic circumstances, but then in execution, because of the format, the intertitles going, Dave, or no, Jack, it's me, your friend. Don't you recognize me? Oh, for the love of God, stop shooting at like I can't lie, I was laughing, but I recognize like how dramatically effective and how like this must have just fucking devastated people back then.
It's like it kind of gets away with it too, because at
It
the
does,
end
absolutely.
where Jack returns home by himself and he returns
Oh
David's
yeah, like
parents, the teddy
that is
bear and
heartbreaking. But like,
the medal.
well, yeah, I mean that scene, like especially like just with the parents, there's always some touch that seems humorous with me where the parents are approaching, the dad's on the wheelchair, but then there's this perfectly framed shot, and then the dog runs up right in between them and just sits like I'm mad at you. Like it seems kind of corny and funny to me, but at the same time, the line from the mom where she's just like, I tried to be mad at you, I wanted to, but I can't, like that stuff is very heartbreaking. Like
No,
you definitely feel that.
like once Clara Bow left the picture, I didn't think anything was funny. Like you got Herman, you got
She
her,
was
and
the humor,
that's
yeah.
the comedic relief. Like you get touches of it when the movie starts, but after the interlude that I didn't get after they leave Paris, no, like this film has a stone's gaze. Like it's
Hmm.
very serious. Like yeah, it's kind of laughable, like you said, just because of the format of the silent
Yeah,
film.
and I mean, just also, the way that some things are in execution, where they're just like, he doesn't have long to live. It's like, well, can't we do some? And then the French officer's just like, no, c'est la guerre. He just goes like, it's war, like it's nothing. Which obviously that makes sense, because why would he be invested in that moment? But I still can't help but laugh at some of this stuff.
I mean, like
I feel bad for doing it, but then it's like it does set it up real well. Like it is sad. Like you definitely feel that triumphant return, the parade that they have for when their heroes go back and then come back from war, and then yet the vets themselves are just like not feeling great at all, and like they just see all this bullshit around them when things are not that awesome.
well,
Like it.
that's not exactly Jack's perception here. I think he did,
Well, no,
because for a lot of those
he's
shots,
sitting in a car and he's not happy, and he's
well, it's because
looking
he's
at.
looking at the medals in his pocket. But
Yeah.
it's like before that happens, when he
It's
gets
something
off
from
the
other war movies too.
when
It's
he's
a common thing that you see when people go back home and they
well, it's
don't feel
it's
right.
common in movies because it's a real thing. Like
Yeah,
that's how because they're thinking about their brothers in arms who aren't returning.
part of PTSD, really, like or just
I,
that shock of being back home.
I think it's more than that. Like I said, if for instance, if David survived and the two of them returning together, there wouldn't be a sour note there, because that's all that mattered. It's like the two guys from this town are back, and he ends up getting Clara Bow anyway. You get that shooting star moment. And as much as I love a good on-screen romance or the happy ending or anything like that, that was the one here. I wasn't a fan of it. Jack.
No,
No, like not in terms of the way it's shot or the way it happens, because yeah, it's great. You got the great opening
everything
image of
pays off.
her
Yeah.
jumping over the fence and I'm your girl, and it's just the payoff that you don't get in terms of him realizing that before he returned home. Like he was still crazy about Sylvia. He had the ripped up picture that he put back together that he was still looking at. Like
Hmm.
he basically just realized, oh well,
It's
she'll
like,
never
oh, she
be.
liked me the whole time, so I'll stick
No,
with
more
her.
so, Sylvia won't get with me because I killed the guy she actually loved.
Yeah.
And now, hey, this girl's next door. I don't even know that she's the girl in Paris. Like, he tells her that. Like, he's like, yeah, so this one night in Paris when I was on leave, this thing happened. I don't even want to know who that girl was or whatever. Like, when he
Yeah.
woke up that next morning with the note next to him in bed with, like, the worst hangover of his life, he had no clue. And so you got this girl, the star of the movie, literally, who's throwing herself at him the whole movie, and he's too stupid to realize. Instead, he wants this rich girl that he can't get. And just how happy she is, even though she, was forced out of the military, had to return home. Because think about that, like how big a deal that is. She's the only woman you see on the field.
Just how they complicate that situation
It's
too.
so
Like it,
shitty. Like she does not get the ending that she deserves, but
well,
he
she is kind
does.
of treated as a dumb woman throughout. Like just that moment, like right before they bomb the town, and then she drives in, and is like, "Hey, where is everybody?" Like it's definitely old fashioned in that sense, just as
She's
far as
she's window setting. Like she's not the real deal, but you can see her from a
no.
distance, and it gets you in the
She's eye
door.
candy, really.
Yeah.
Like she's relief from all the bad things that are happening on screen.
Like I said, once she leaves, when they kick her out, it becomes a different movie.
Yeah, it's just a full.
It's a
It's
real war movie.
yeah. I mean, honestly though, no. Like I had no issues with the relationship or the ending, just probably for this reason in that there's an acceptance of this being very old fashioned, and also it's tough to like this does offer a lot of a lot of complicated situations, just which that's part of the melodrama, that's part of what keeps your attention and like it has the audience sucked in. But like I think I accept it because it's an old film, but like mainly because it's a silent film and it's tough to really deeply explore your relationships and just like having all these these emotions at play in there, and like there's no subtlety whatsoever because they are two-dimensional characters. Like it's just it's a way that it's a matter of format more, I think. Like
Well,
this isn't one of the great romances of all time, but like it definitely has that old Hollywood feel and that old Hollywood happy ending that I really liked the way that it paid it off.
yeah,
So
it
I
it
was more willing
fits.
to just accept simplicity.
There's great closure there because his car is a shooting star, the plane is the
Yeah,
shooting star. That's how he's referred to throughout the
there's enough
military.
links
And
that
yeah,
happen throughout the
they
relationship
see a
that
shooting star and they
yeah.
get this great landmark, like hallmark moment to close everything up with. It's like they kissed. They're gonna get married. They're gonna have kids. Like great. Um, it's just for how much this film does in terms of film history, like how important of a production this was at the time, and yet even if it's before like classical Hollywood conventions were cemented, it's already doing that too. Like the whole idea here is, oh, you were in the military, you came back home, okay, find yourself a girl now, even if you never even liked her to begin with, and settle down. But yeah, I still liked it. I still thought it was a great film. It's hard to say I'd buy it for $1 just because I don't know if I'll ever watch this again, and not in the way that, because I know I said that about something, like I said that about Dancer in the Dark. I don't know
Hmm.
if I'll watch that again, but I had to buy it because, oh man, I've never seen something like this before, and it's very important. And I want to tell people about this. Whereas this one, it's an impressive production. It's literally so. The action is great. Like, it's a spectacle for sure. But it's like you could watch a 20-minute version of this and get the same movie.
Unlike you, I will buy it for $1. Like, I don't see myself revisiting it, but you know what? If at the Classic Film Series in the summer at the Paramount
Uh,
in Austin has this playing, I would definitely make it a point to try to get to that because that is a classic historic theater, and that's the ideal setting for that, and that's where I would want to be. So I mean, yeah, like it's not like I would watch it again, like, oh, I would watch this over and over again, it's something like that. But it's like, every once in a while I could see myself just thinking, like, yeah, I really liked that movie when I saw it. I'm in the mood to revisit this. Like, why not step back and watch that again? It's a really good movie, and I think it holds up very very well
it
in
holds up
some
very
sense.
well.
It's gonna take willingness of a modern viewer, like just quite a bit to really enjoy it, because a lot of people just don't have patience for this kind of filmmaking. But a lot here is still entertaining. I really like the way that this flows and the way that this is edited, and even if some of the war scenes or battle scenes are kind of repetitive to me, like, I'm not gonna lie, I did pull out my phone a couple times because this is a long movie, and it's just I feel shitty about doing that. But yeah, some of the shots kind of
Yeah, it's
felt like the same, but at the same time I see why they're so impressive, and even now they're still impressive. It's just it feels like they're played on a loop at some points, especially in that last third, which should be very exciting and harrowing, but for me just wasn't the whole time. Mainly, I think, though, not because the film is bad, just because of the product of its time that it is. But yeah, it's a really nice old-fashioned war movie slash romance flick, and I really dug it. And I'm surprised I enjoyed it as much as I did, but because I thought, I was worried, picking this. It's like, there's movies where you watch them where you acknowledge they're great or they're significant in some way, but you're just not that into them, but they're not bad. But like, no, like I genuinely really enjoy this, and I'm happy I did. And so I would not hesitate to tell someone to see this if they have interest in seeing it. Like I don't know, I'm not sure how to recommend it to people unless I know that this is something they can be into,
See,
but like if they express interest, absolutely I would say yes.
That's what I'm on the edge of right now, because I was watching it. There's so many things that I did enjoy, just its sense of humor and its sense of peril.
Oh, yeah.
And the way it's shot, and like you said, the way it's edited, and the actors that play here, and the production design, and so many things. Like, it's just a really solid movie. There's nothing bad about it.
There's just too many cool things that I'll remember. I mean, Herman is awesome, man. Like,
yeah, no, he's cool.
Like the punches that he gets from the drill sergeant instructor, like the tattoos, like yeah, like there's a lot of stuff like that throughout. The bubbles in this movie, I could keep going on and on. Like, it's very memorable. I
don't regret watching it. I don't regret paying the $4 I did. Like, it was a good screening. It's really good. It's just, like I said, I'm not sure. I'm literally sitting here and I'm wondering, like, am I buying this one? Maybe I'm not. Do I want to recommend this one to our viewers? And it's like, if they've listened for about an hour, they can understand that we both don't have anything negative to say about it.
If we're talking this long about it, I think there's a good conversation to be had regardless. And that's usually a sign that something is at least worth seeing.
Yeah, I'll buy this one. Because I would actually buy this one. I was looking up pricing before I watched it, thinking, do I want to buy this one digitally? And I went, no, I'd want a disc. And I looked up the price, and it was like $28. You can suck my dick. Because I just got...
Well, no, there might be two Blu-rays, honestly, because like it's weird. There was this point where I think in 2011, or 2012, Paramount put this out, but then they put at least 500 of their titles, like they gave them to Warner Brothers to distribute. So you'd have to check and see if it's the Paramount copy or the Warner Brothers copy that you get. It's
too much.
It's a mess.
It's like, this is
it might be a lot less than that. If you're looking at the Paramount one, which is out of print, I assume, then yeah, the price is going to be way up.
This should probably get a Criterion pick.
Yeah, like I would love to see more bonus features on this.
Not even bonus. This is like, in terms of just film history, like, oh, this is significant. Yeah. If this got a Criterion release, a lot more people would see it. A lot more people would talk about it. Like, that is why Criterion exists. Like, it's not for the fancy packaging. Like, trust me, I want that before trilogy Blu-ray set. But
oh yeah, absolutely.
$60. And
wait for Barnes & Noble to have a sale, and it'll be probably like
better
40
yet,
or 30.
Wait 4 more years when another one of the movies comes out, and then the box set means nothing. Like, that's what I'm really thinking about. Like, thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter, or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. Trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYON MONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.